Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is Foxworth Friday. Domonique Foxworth, welcome back, brother.
Thank you, man. I'm happy to be back. And the people on the streets are mad at me, man. Like just neighbors and regular people. Like, where you been? Like, I got other shit to do. Like I don't work for Wave Sports and Entertainment. People, like I gotta keep my other job going.
I mean, I'm saying there was a 4 month, you know what I'm saying? We tried, you know what I mean? But no, I'm glad we got you here. I want to talk about something right fast that has absolutely nothing to do with the world, only to do with me, and then we can get to like the other places of it. So, you know, this global warming thing is a thing, okay? I understand we're supposed to call it climate change, but it was 78 degrees yesterday, November the 6th. And as we record today, November the 7th, it is a high of 71 degrees, okay? And an indicator of the fact that that it feels a little warmer, shall we say, I was looking for like my jacket, my everyday jacket. When I used to go to work every day, right? I had my cashmere coats in different colors and all that stuff to go with the suit jackets. You know what I'm saying? But I work from home now, so I just got a little light puff. You know what I'm saying? I had that before, but that became the jacket. All right? Brother, I can't find it.
You live in New York, man. I know you're doing well and you got a bigger place than most, but it ain't that damn big.
I can't find it. It's not lost because of all these caverns. I don't know what happened. I don't know if something happened and I had like some moment of inspiration or something and I decided to throw it away so I could get a different one. I don't have any idea. All my other stuff, like I found my hats, I found like my gloves, but for whatever reason, I cannot find my jacket. And I can't tell how old this makes me because I feel like that's something that I would have remembered.
No, I mean, I think you're right to blame it on climate change or global warming because a jacket, it's like, I don't know people who lose their phone because I use my phone so often that if I put it down somewhere, oh yeah, it's only a couple feet away. And it's the same thing with a jacket. And when you leave it every day, it's like, all right, I put my jacket down at like the Seaport building. I'll put my jacket down somewhere and forget where I put it, but I don't walk out the building without it. But the fact is, you've been walking out the building, in and out of lots of buildings without it. And at some point, you put that thing down in one of these buildings, maybe it's the one you live in, or maybe it's something else, and you just walked out and ain't needed, ain't think about it. Ain't even remember that you lost it.
I must have disposed of it because when I'm walking around with the jacket, I keep all my stuff in the pockets. Yeah. And so the fact that I still have a wallet and all these other things, right, like walks me down in that direction that, okay, maybe that's what it is. However, me and my brother were walking around the neighborhood early in the evening on Halloween, and it was like, yo, like if your Halloween get down is insert profession, but with $1 per trollop, it was a great October 31st for you because it was like 65 degrees on the, like at night. I was like, you can do it all the way if this is your game, right? And I don't even feel bad what I just said because I saw some people and I'm like, you ain't buy that at no costume store. I know what else they sell at the store, but you bought that get up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm at the age, or my son is at the age now where he's 11, where like I see him peeking. And there were people going or coming from a Halloween party, like a daytime Halloween party, the weekend after Halloween, and there was more than $1. And he looked at me, and I looked at him. I shrugged my shoulders, like, yeah, that's what's popping out here now. But I know what to say.
But the fact that October 31st had come and I had not had to look for my jacket yet.
It's going to cool down next week. I know this because I ordered some new suits for TV, and they all are fall, and I've been waiting. They like fall colors, and they're a little thicker. You know how it is. You want the weather change so you can dress. That's the best part about weather. Is that just black people who think the fall is about getting fly?
No, I'm sure that there's a wing of other people that feel that way. I'm just from Houston. So and I don't care about that stuff. Like I remember when I got to college and people were talking about that and I'm like, Yeah, I guess.
So I'm looking forward to next week because I can break some of these things out. It don't look so good. I don't know why. Maybe it's psychological, but like even if it is winter time and the temperature in the studio is the same all the time, it doesn't matter. If it's 70 degrees outside, you just feel like you look dumb in a damn sweater. And whether it's cold everywhere else, it's like, oh, it's 70 degrees, but it's November.
Yeah.
I can't rock a sweater.
Dog, I went out and ran errands yesterday in a t-shirt and basketball shorts. Like this is the thing. But I'm gonna ask you about this, man. We are recording this on Thursday, so it's 2 days after the election. And then yesterday for us recording was Wednesday, which is 1 day after the election. And my good buddy Roy Wood Jr., we recorded a podcast together. And he asked me what to say to people who are struggling because they got to go to work to Wednesday. And, how am I supposed to just act like it's a normal Wednesday? And when he asked me that, I didn't know the question was coming. And so I said, let's go to commercial break, right? To buy myself some time. And then we came back around and I still didn't have a better answer than telling people to go smoke some weed. Because honestly, like my thought was, how do you act like it's Wednesday? I'm like, I don't know. I just am. That's what's going on over here. I wasn't really all bummed out about this in that same way. I don't know if that makes me a bad something or whatever, but I guess, I feel like me and you are kind of wired the same. I kind of needed to talk to somebody that was just like, oh, damn, that's messed up.
Next play.
Is it the money? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that what it is?
It's not. It's not it. It's I think different people are wired differently, man. And like people approach challenges and disappointment and success differently. The problem with, I think maybe if you and I are consistently like this, the problem with the drawback of this is after good shit happens, I'm the same way. It's like, I'm like, oh, that's tight. I loved it. That was great. Everybody hug. What's next? All right. And so that's the same. That's just how I've always been. And it kind of sucks for some people, but in difficult times, it's awesome because like, I'm not going to lie and say I wasn't disappointed. I'm definitely not going to say I was surprised, but then there's like a mourning and for women and black women in DC where I am now, where there's a lot of Howard people, like it feels different. Like I totally get that. That's a different experience altogether. But I just be like, all right, you got to watch the film tonight and tomorrow we gonna get ready for next week.
Football did it to you. Football did it to you. Football turned you into that guy. I guess for me, I have gotten better at leaning into the good, right? Like when the good things happen, it's okay to go ahead and do that because I kind of feel in some ways, like I almost felt like I had an obligation to the world that if I'm going to take this bad stuff in stride, then I'm obligated to take the good stuff in stride. And that's not true. It's okay. I can be a hypocrite about this, right? It's a big deal when I like it. It's not a big deal when I don't like it. I can do this. Now, I recognize this election is a gigante deal. I don't even know if that's actually a word in Spanish, even though I am learning. Like that is I remember there was a wrestler called El Gigante, so I'm going to assume that is actually a word. Oh no, it's a big deal. But I was just like, okay, glad I got Roy on the show tomorrow because I need somebody I can get these jokes off with because I could tell none of my friends are ready for it. I was looking at the text messages I was getting and it was like, eesh, I probably need to find somebody else to talk to. I don't think that my witty repartee is welcome in these spaces.
Well, no, the group chat that you and I belong to, that it was welcome there. It was yes. Vacillate between serious texts, also tweets in defense of black men and then jokes. Like that was pretty much it. Like we ain't do it. Right. And then some jokes.
Actually, I have to say, I think that probably made my day a lot better. Like I'm a lot less online than I used to be, but if I had to fight for the honor of me and mine, I don't think it would have gone so good, right? So I don't know if you got to see the clip when I was on with Brian Williams. And they asked me what I would like to talk about. So I was originally supposed to go on at 8:30, but they said they were going to get some exit polls or something like that in at 8:30. And so they pushed me back to 12:30 and they're like, do you want to do it? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, oh man, 12:30, you know me, I sleep, right? So I took me a little nap early. I got on there at 12:15. They didn't get to me till about 12:50, but it went well. But anyway, I definitely told them I wanted to talk about black male voter turnout, right? And the reason was, no matter what the number was, I was going to be vindicated, because my whole point is you can't hold us accountable to what I consider to be situational math. I call it Democrat math, right? The numbers they need us to vote at aren't based on some absolute standard. It's based on their belief in what the coalition is and what is necessary to get all the numbers right in the coalition to get to where they want to go. So if only, call it 70% of black men voted for the Democratic candidate rather than the standard 80, you're not going to make me act like that's not still 70%, right? Like I'm not going to be held to these other people's math. But I had made the decision. I was going to talk about that no matter what. But then the numbers came in about what you need them to be. And I was like, ooh, one less thing for your boy to worry about.
It was tough leading up to the election where we were hearing that. And you're right. It's like it's grading on the curve, but it's also like an expectation that's been created. And it's hard to keep going along with this, and this sends us down a whole nother path where it's like, have things changed substantially enough for this constituency that you rely on so heavily for you to expect this type of turnout and this type of overwhelming support? No. But do they give it? And do they need to give it? Yes. It is a terrible place to be in, to be like, hey fellas, let's get out and vote. But also like, why? Well, because what else we gonna do?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you this, though, about the election. This is a point that I don't think enough people have talked about. And I think that we should be able to watch what has happened and redo how we do things. Okay. I don't know how much in the last month any of you have paid attention to Donald Trump at his own affairs and at his own rallies. Okay. I don't know how much attention you have paid to the ways that crowds responded to him at these rallies and some of the things he did that were just a little bit strange, right? I don't know how you saw that. I mean, how many of you guys saw that? But those of you who saw it, you understood what it was, okay? That is how my man came down the home stretch, and he promptly beat the brakes off of them after that. Right? After what you saw right before it was time to go vote. All right? Right before, he came out here and put up a resounding victory. I'm saying, can we get like a dead period like they got in recruiting? Because clearly, these last 2 weeks don't matter for nothing. We ain't got to put none of this shit on TV. Right? Like, I don't know what else CNN would show. Show some goddamn Christmas movies. I have no idea. But it is very clear to me that none of that stuff matters at all, at least not late. It mattered enough to get Joe Biden out of the paint. But apparently, what you say in the last month, in the last 2 weeks, whatever it is, it can't matter. Or are you telling me that if my man had been on point for the last month, that he would have put up even bigger numbers?
I got so many things to say. So first of all, we can't deny the fact that, I don't know when the last time you played a video game, like a sports video game, but like the current video games I play with my son, you can choose your difficulty based on what team you're on. So it's not one difficulty for the whole game. He can play on rookie while I play on all Madden. That seems to be clearly a situation that we live in with, where one person, and it's not even just a party, like we, even within the primaries, Republican primaries, like he got to play a different game than everyone else was playing. And you're saying that this home stretch didn't matter. The scarier way to look at it is it did matter. And considering how successful a politician he has been, this real scary part is like, I don't want to ascribe some level of insight to him that he doesn't deserve. It might just be his natural disposition or a fluke, but you could also argue that he know us better than we know us, and that the population that he got to come out and vote is possibly a population that wouldn't vote before. And the shit that he was doing was like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. This is the freedom I want to have. This is the way I want to behave. Yeah, do that to the microphone. Call people what you want to call them.
Okay. And see, this is where I have to make you stop. Tell me who these people are that want to come out in public and do what he did to that microphone and how they tie into your image of who these people are.
No.
Like, I'm just saying, when I was a kid, if you was running for president and it looked like you was throwing the microphone, that was disqualifying right then and there.
It was, I mean, like that guy, man, disqualified. You wasn't a kid. That's absurd. I don't think that it's that specific act. I think it's a repudiation of like the idea of cancel culture and political correctness. Is like you can't call people certain names, and it's like you can't get on the stage and simulate these acts. I don't think that anybody who voted for him, or maybe some people do, but that act in itself was not something they're like, I want to do. But the freedom to be able to behave that way, I think.
But Dominique, people were walking out, like we saw all the empty seats at the rallies. You saw all these people walking out of this. I guess what I'm saying is, I feel like there is an ascription of some of these motives on these people who voted for him, where I'm not sure there are as many people as advertised that are like diehards, right? And I think in what I hear from you, I feel like you kind of overstate the number of diehards. I think really people don't like, there's such an overload of everything at this point that comes out that we don't need this last month. I'm trying to spare all of us from having to watch any more of these commercials, all of this stuff. Here you go out here trying to stop this good thing that I've come up with, which is how we can stop being so inundated with all this madness, because this man came out here and definitely did not look strong going into the home stretch and still wound up winning the Rose Bowl, okay? Like we don't need to do none of these polls at this point.
Yeah,
that's just how it feels to me now. None of that matters, because, I mean, he was sputtering, Jack. I thought he was sputtering.
The polls, man. I've been like holding out, being quiet generally the last several elections about polls, because everybody else is like, these polls are stupid. They're a waste of time. And I'm like, whatever, man. Relax. Like, nah, man, these polls stupid. They're a waste of time at this point. They ain't helping nothing.
Let me tell you something about them goddamn polls. They're done in this town.
So done.
They are all like this one in particular, man. Like it's a dead heat and everything else. They got dusted. I don't even understand how they got dusted so bad. Like, are people just out here just telling y'all anything now?
Yes. I don't get it, man.
Like, is this like a conspiracy?
Every year is so like early in us starting to accept that polls are not as trustworthy. That was 12. I don't know. That was a long time ago. Yeah. We were like, hey, this is cell phones. You know, and then they have been tweaking every election since. They're like, no, we got to figure it out this time. We got to figure it out this time. And now, the time when they should have it the most figured out, they got it wronger than they ever got it wrong before.
Oh my gosh! Like
they don't mean nothing, man.
That's the key factor in people not wanting to go to work on Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The expectations.
Y'all told us that she was going to win Iowa, dog.
Iowa? She couldn't even win Georgia.
Y'all told us that she was going to win Iowa. Like, this is going to sound like a distant connection, but I think you'll understand me, okay? I lived in Durham during the Duke lacrosse thing. And what I don't think that people understood, because there was a lot of chastising black people for the fact that, you know, the district attorney got it wrong, okay? This white man came out here and told us that these rich white boys did this thing. And we figure that if the white man say that the other white man did it under these circumstances, it must be true, right? You come out here and tell us that she gonna win Iowa, of all places, Iowa. Never mind that Obama won it twice, right? You tell us that she gonna win Iowa, then you telling us, oh, okay. Then I start reading in the papers and them slam stories that come out about a campaign, but they normally come out about the loser after the election. The ones about Trump were coming out before the election. Man, it was looking like it was going to happen. Brother, I told you I took that nap. And I woke up and it was 2016. It went exactly the way it did in 2016 when I took that nap. And I woke up and was like, ruh-roh.
It makes the Obama election seem even more like, I thought they were insane at the time. Like, I remember after the inauguration, weeks after, I'm like, holy shit, that really happened. And then he did it again. And then it was like, obviously I didn't fall into any sort of post-racial trap, but I do remember how Republicans were like, all right, our strategy is going to be to move more to the center and appeal to more people. And Donald Trump was like, man, y'all just gonna leave all this ground open over here? Let me go and get that. I know y'all better than you know yourself.
I wonder about Trump on that, and I haven't read like any of the books or anything. I've never had a great handle on like how calculating he is about all this stuff, right? But did he really think that he was going to be starting a movement, or was he just like, cool, I'm gonna get out here, put up some shots, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. See what happens.
Yeah, I think he looked up and had the lead in the fourth quarter and was surprised. He just signed up to get that check. He was fine the first election, one of those schools. It was like, yeah, we're going to play this game, get this check. The next thing you knew, he had the lead at the end of the game. I was like, okay, we're going to keep running this play. This play seems to be working just fine. I was just trying to get some attention. Us having this conversation is interesting to me, too, because it's it feels like I'm just, not that I didn't know that I lived in some sort of bubble, and I do have a couple of friends who were Trump guys the first election, but they've since moved away from it. But like this bubble where it just seems so outrageous that anyone would vote for him. And it's funny, even I got up this morning and rode on the Peloton, and the Peloton instructor started with some miseducation of Lauryn Hill singing about how there will be spring after winter. Like, she is overtly like, man, it's a dark day. I'm like, he had a landslide. Some of these people on Peloton are happy. It's not a dark day for them. Like, he won the popular vote in Electoral College.
They hit that personal record.
No, they are PRing right now. And it's just funny because it's in most of the places that I'm in, because I spend most of my time in like major American East Coast cities. Like, there's none of these places like DC, New York, where I spend most of my time. And the people that I spend most of my time around are like, fall right into that Venn diagram of college educated. It's just funny to how, I don't know, they're how divided it is, and how, I don't want to say comfortable people are, but just the assumption when someone wins the election by that much, and then you walk out the next day and everywhere you go, everyone assumes that you're going to be sad. It's just shocking to me.
Yo, that is an interesting point. Like, I did have somebody, a good friend, hit me up and check how I was doing. I'm like, Playboy, you know me. But it's everybody, and I had never really thought that much about the idea of like the liberal bubble until I moved here. Right? Like, once I moved here in kind of the circles that I was moving in because of the people I already knew when I got here, it was like, oh, I have a better understanding what it is that they're talking about. Because I at least feel like I have a grasp and a gauge of who some of the people are who, vote on the other side of me, right? Like, they're not like foreign alien creatures. Even some of the ones that I probably like know and like, but would still do that. I have like some understanding of what the motivations are. But like here, man, I ain't got one person that I can think of in my life that might be happy about this. I cannot think of one. Like, I know some people that might be cool with it, right? But like happy with it, like, hell yeah, I knew we could do it.
Yeah, there was a guy, and when you lived in Miami, I imagine it was very different, because last time I was down there was a big like rally happening. Trump wasn't even in town. They just was having a Trump rally right in downtown Miami. I was like, okay, yeah, wow, that makes sense. This is Miami. This is Florida. But on Tuesday, there was a guy and his family, and he had on a Make America Great Again hat in Manhattan. And I was dumbfounded. I was like, did you get lost? Like, this doesn't seem right. It felt so out of place, because it was like, that's not something. Had you ever seen, I guess, tourists?
Well, no, I saw an African-American gentleman wearing a Make America Great Again hat on 125th Street in front of the statue of Adam Clayton Powell last week.
He had cameras around him. He was doing a stunt.
No. I don't know, right? Yeah. But I saw that. I do remember in 2016, I was over on DeKalb Avenue, down where we used to get brunch back in the day. And some Caucasian gentleman pulled up on the block in a Ford F-350 with the biggest Trump Pence flag in the trunk that I possibly could have imagined. And I could only assume he was here looking for trouble, right? Like he was like, I had never heard a more implicit say something than when I saw that truck pushing through Brooklyn with that big old flag.
That's some real high school energy. Like, I feel like I would do something like that in high school, where it's like I'm going to go into some other portion of town looking for that type of attention. It's not even, because there are places that I go that I would be more conscious of, like the support that I would demonstrate, just because it's like, I'm not looking for trouble. I'm not looking for trouble. And that doesn't mean I'm scared to speak up or scared to defend myself, but you are asking, you a pickup truck in Brooklyn?
Well, a couple things. One, the dude might have been from Staten Island. Two, there are parts of Brooklyn that he can certainly go to, and he will be just fine. I don't know if you've ever seen Do the Right Thing, but Sal lives somewhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, so no. I think he'd be just fine in all of Brooklyn, but it's really unusual.
I agree. I concur.
You're asking for somebody to say
am with
something.
you there. But did you see these numbers, though, on how hard the rightward shift was in some of these, where like the Bronx and Queens shifting 20% to the right from the last election? Like, there's a lot going on. There's also a global factor where Derek Thompson of The Atlantic had a really interesting story about this, where I got some of those numbers I just gave you there. But basically, post-COVID, every incumbent government has gotten dusted at the ballot boxes since COVID went down. That inflation, hey man, people ain't really trying to hear no explanations, dog. Somebody got to pay.
I'm certainly not qualified to explain all the reasons why. I've read a bunch of stuff this morning where people are saying all these different things, and racism and sexism and people's single issue voters and all this other stuff that is influencing. I'm in no position to decide any of that stuff, but I do think that one thing I've seen over since I've been paying attention to American politics is the factors that determine whether you are going to get reelected or knocked out are rarely connected to anything that you can do or say. It's like how people are feeling, and how people are feeling is based a lot more on things that the president can't directly control. And sometimes it can be like, all right, Supreme Court justices, like that seemed to be a big factor in the last one, but that was something they control. But then it's like COVID hit. It's not really, and then you can say it's about the handling of COVID. But look, man, ain't nobody kick off COVID. Nobody wanted that to happen. Everybody was pissed because COVID was messing up your life. And you know that rationally, we know that changing government ain't going to change COVID, but you're like, somebody got to pay for this shit.
Yeah.
And that's probably inflation and the economy and all that stuff is probably a part of what's happening now.
We'll go pay some bills right now. We'll find happy stuff. I feel like we've kept it largely happy. You know what I'm saying? But we'll get happier.
Hold on, before we go pay the bills, do all the texts that you get from people that are like, and the times when you run into people and they act sad or they are sad, do you ever give a little pretend that you hurting like them? Because I gave a couple pretends.
I've thought about it.
Yeah, I've given a couple pretends.
I don't want to
have no deeper conversation. They text, how you doing today? I text back, I'm making it, brother. Oh, sister, I'm hanging in there, sister. But I'm like, all right. Next play.
It was really after George Floyd when they was doing it. And I'm like, brother, I ain't watched that video. I don't know why your dumb ass watched that video. What I need to see it for.
I heard what
it was about.
This same. So this is unrelated, or not unrelated, but it's not as deep. But that video, and I still ain't seen that video or Two Girls, One Cup. Like, why would I ever watch that? Nope. People like, you told me what it's about. I'm gonna watch that shit for.
You told me not to watch it. That does not make me want to watch it, right? Like, you have the chance to be impeccable with your words. The NBA is officially back, which means you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup between the NFL and the NBA in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing from me, let's hear from an expert picker. Sean, how the picks going for you?
I guess I'm solely an expert because of the sheer volume of picks I make, but it's definitely been nice to have the NBA back, to add a little more variety in my picks along with the NFL. Plus, Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that could lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday each Tuesday. Prize Picks discounts select players' projections up to 25% to provide you even more value for your lineups.
There we go. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's take a moment to say thank you to someone in your life. Whether it's your therapist, loved one, or a friend who really listens to you, it's always helpful to show some gratitude. Sean, is there anybody in your life you want to send some thanks to?
For me, Bo, I'm always thankful to my friends and family who have been with me through all the good times and the bad. And while this month is all about gratitude towards those people in our lives, there's another person we don't get to thank enough, and that's ourselves. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we are trying our best to make sense of everything in this crazy world, and that isn't easy. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, including yourself.
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/Bomani today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bomani. Hey, I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with a purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out, it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. And if you don't believe me, Sean, tell them how easy it is to sign up.
To get started, go to mintmobile.com/Bomani. There you'll see right now all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Bomani. That's mintmobile.com/Bomani. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Bomani. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on a first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigs on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for more details.
All right, Dominique, I guess we do got some football. We ain't had a chance to talk about football. I have to be honest with you. Now that I don't have you on the show as much, my football analysis has begun to suffer just a tad. You know what I'm saying? I can't exactly draft off of what you got going in the same way. But I have wanted to ask you this. I thought Russell Wilson was finished. I thought that we had 3 seasons to indicate that he was finished. He looks less finished now. Do you have any insight into how terminal this was?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always about the expectations and what's being asked of you. When Russ left Seattle, it was kind of discussed as if it was because they were holding him back and Russ really needed to free himself. And I had this theory that wasn't really based on any conversations I had, but it was probably just based on how I would feel, where it was like Russ went to a Super Bowl, won one, went to another Super Bowl, was one of the better quarterbacks in football. Then Patrick Mahomes showed up. And it felt like Tom Brady was aging out. And Tom Brady ain't go away. Tom Brady was aging out. It felt like Russ was like the next in line to take over the league and to be like the face of the league. And Tom Brady hung around. Then Patrick Mahomes popped up and Lamar Jackson popped up. And I think that Russ moved to another team where he had ultimate power and was coached by a coach that we don't seem to have any respect for and tried to do some things that he was not capable of doing. So I don't think he's certainly fallen off some. But what they're doing in Pittsburgh now is very similar to what Russ had the most success with is like, we're going to play defense, we're going to run the ball, and we're going to let you make people pay with these big, deep shots. Yeah, Russ can do that. Now there's going to be a situation somewhere along the line, and Steelers fans got mad at me for saying this, is like, Russ going to have a bad game, but how does he mitigate the issues in the game? Like, he can't change who he is. Like, he's going to hold on to the ball too long. He's going to take some chances with the ball that he shouldn't when things get hairy. And so that's the question. Will they ever be in that situation in the playoffs? And how will he handle it going forward? So, yeah, I mean, I think he's obviously an above average quarterback, and he's the right quarterback for them right now.
It sounds like he may have humbled himself a tad.
Or Mike Tomlin did.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the part, right? First of all, the whole league don't want you. Has got to be a tough one, right? Somebody paid you 30-something mil to leave, okay? And I'm sorry, I hear people talk about this Bo Nix is playing well. It don't never be one. I'm watching on the league pass. He looked cheeky every time I turn it on. Best play I done seen that man make was a 50-50 ball touchdown catch. Like, that was an indictment of the Baltimore Ravens. But they paid that money for him to go and just to be like, hey, man, this is what we need you to do. If you down to do it, you can be the starter. I don't care what Justin Fields does. When you come back, you're going to get this job. But this is what it's going to be. And you're right. Pete Carroll's thing was, I keep it simple with him, and then we throw deep balls. And it worked. And it turns out he was right.
And that's like, you were probably more of a pioneer on this than most people, but I'm definitely feel like I'm at the forefront of this also, of chill out, nerds. Because that's where Russ that's who put the battery in his back. It was like, look at the production that Russ has when he's throwing. Look at the production that this offense has when they're running. How about we let Russ cook? Chill out, nerds.
Right?
Yeah, there's some things about football that's like, there's some things about the game that can't be boiled down to that when you're dealing with humans. So, like, I get it. When you're dealing with a machine, then all those things will be consistent, but all the variables are not the same. And I think that's something we've learned about Russ, is that Russ cooks great when you ask him to cook one course. You don't want Russ to be cooking all game.
Hold on. We got to use one of your business school words. And this is what people have to ask themselves. Does this scale? Right?
Perfect.
Is this scalable?
Yeah.
That's what they mean when they start talking about this stuff, right? Like, okay, you got a nice mom and pop. Does this scale into a chain? Is it scalable? And the answer in that case was not really.
Yeah, it wasn't scalable. And I think part of the problem also is there's this, and Peyton Manning was probably one of the first to do this, where he had ultimate power because he was a talented quarterback that switched teams at the peak of his career. And then we saw Tom Brady do it. We saw Russell do it. We saw Matt Stafford doesn't fall into this category, but Matt Stafford's an example where it worked. We've seen Aaron Rodgers do it. And the reason why Matt Stafford doesn't fall in this category is because Matt Stafford didn't have ultimate power. And it feels like that Russ came over and had ultimate power. And it's like LeBron going to Miami to learn how to be a champion. It's like Russ didn't learn it, and Aaron didn't learn it. Tom, Peyton, they learned it. They was out here breaking rules. They was trying to practice so damn much. They were a different type. And Peyton was always the offensive coordinator at a certain point. And so he brought all that over, and Russ was never that. And he came over with Nathaniel Hackett, who is not going to bolster that offense. And then he turned it into something that he thought in his mind would work, and it ain't worked.
I waited. I didn't do it with the first question that I had for you. I wanted to wait a little while, but you do agree that, who the best team in the NFL is, right? Like, we ain't got no dispute on that.
No dispute. It's the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
I had to confront my personal biases, and it happened to me on set last week. Because before we do like the pre-show meeting and we answer a bunch of questions, and they're like, who's going to make it to the Super Bowl? Who's going to win the Super Bowl? And I'm like, the Ravens are going to make it, and the Ravens are going to win it. The Lions are going to make it, and the Lions are going to lose. And then it's like, we got to be honest, man. It's those silver helmets with them blue cats on the side that got us thinking that this team ain't good. If the Steelers were playing like this, or if the Ravens were playing like this consistently, and the Ravens are doing a lot offensively, but it's not even the way that they're scoring, it's the way that they're winning. It's a way, and again, chill out, nerds. They are winning in the way that you have always won football games, by having an offensive line that beat motherfuckers up. It's like, and no disrespect to the coordinators and to the receivers, but the foundation, everything about how well this team plays is because them, and I'm sorry, Dr. Jones, but I don't think that there are other words that I can use to get my point across. But sometimes you have to say that they are beating motherfuckers up. And there is no scheme that can beat that. There's no intelligence. There's no weather condition. There's no nothing. Now, of course, they could get in a shootout, and the thing that also gives me confidence is, like, Jared Goff made those plays last year. The plays that we say he needs to make, he made them in part because, you know what? They protecting his ass. He not getting pressured unless they blitzing. He going check downs to incredible backs. So, like, it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where anyone knocks them off before they get there. And of course, one game sample, they could lose, something could happen. But if you are pushing, if the offensive line moves 2 to 3 yards every snap, like, yeah, you can't do nothing about that, man.
For me, first of all, I don't care who you root for, how you would not prefer your team play like the Lions plays than how your team plays. You just have to love it. We here, like you said, we here to put these paws on y'all. Like, when they run the ball, it's like, wow, look at that. Look at them run the ball. They got them receivers. If that one boy stopped being stupid, what did this dumbass do? It was when he had the gun in the car. That was the last thing that happened with him, right? But then he gets suspended for something else, and then we found out about
he had a PED suspension. He had a gambling suspension, and he started his career with, ACL is the ACL issue, but he's had a rocky start, man.
Yeah, he's had a rocky start because he got a pocket full of rocks. He appears to have, or perhaps rocks in the cabeza. I don't understand, but he will be so good if he could just stop doing silly things.
Yeah,
but anyway, this is how I would want my team to play. The defenses come together. Shout out to you, Dan Campbell. You could have deserted the black man, but you did not. You stood by him. Aaron Glenn, H-Town, way to make this happen. And I'm just telling people, jump on board with this, man. The numbers are bearing out that this is what it is. I think they're going to wind up winning this NFC. I'm really excited about what my guys are bringing. I accidentally called them we on the internet the other day.
It's okay. Nah, you got on early, man. You deserve a we. I've been doing this with Charlie, my co-host. Is he accidentally lapses into we when he's talking about his Commanders, and then apologize. You don't gotta apologize. That's you. You've been rooting for the Commanders for the last 20 years. You got a couple wins. Yeah, that's we. Damn it, I'm with you. You guys, there's nothing wrong with jumping on the bandwagon.
But my thing with the nerds, and you were kind of implying this before, and I think it needs to just be said more loudly. The nerds going to need to get more on board with this running the ball thing, especially as the game has changed so much and they're running the ball is becoming the zag, right? These smaller linebackers that are really good in coverage. But, look at what Derrick Henry is over there doing. I don't think we've had the opportunity to talk about the fact that this dude is too old to still be doing this, except nobody's built. There's not one team in the league that's got something for a Derrick Henry. There's not. He reminds me of almost like Gronk at this point, right? Like, he is a physical outlier at position that the entire league is ill-equipped to do anything with.
The other thing that I say about Derrick Henry and generally about running the ball, and Derrick Henry specifically, because Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey, I was watching a bunch of old Christian McCaffrey stuff, and Saquon and Derrick this year. They do something that no one has developed a stat for yet, but I think that I want to call it unexpected explosives or something like that, where you hand them the ball and they are a full drive on their own and they get you 40 yards, 30 yards, 50 yards. And the reason why that matters to me is the analytics people will tell you that one of the most determinative factors in whether you win or lose is creating explosive plays. And so coaches spend all week designing elaborate plays to get deep passes down the field to work. The reason why that is kind of a high risk proposition is because there's low probability for the success of those plays. So if you're on first down, you do a shot play, all right, your drive is dead now. 2nd and 10, you're in a tough situation. And I don't know what the percentages are, but let's say it's 25% chance that this play works. Now, what if you have just the same probability of getting a 40-yard gain by handing it to Derrick Henry, and the low end of that is not your drive is dead. The low end of that is your 2nd and 5. So you are getting the high-end outcome while eliminating the low-end risk, which is when y'all say running backs don't matter. I get the math. I understand what you're saying in that, and I don't disagree with you, but some motherfuckers are not running backs, and you need to stop calling them that.
Right. Tell me Christian McCaffrey didn't matter, right? Or like it's almost like to me about like valuations of tight ends. I think we can look back on it now. The Falcons jumped a little bit on getting Kyle Pitts, but I understood the argument behind it because I saw what happened with the Patriots with Gronk. This is your guy you can't stop. It just so happens that he plays tight end, right? If you've got a guy that people can't stop, it doesn't matter where it is. They are rare across the board. Christian McCaffrey serving this purpose for the 49ers. We watched what happened when he showed up. Everything looked different. And that is from the ultimate, the running back doesn't matter scheme.
One of the axioms that I go by is absolutes are for children and dumb people. And when you are looking at an offense and you're like, we can't spend that much on a running back, the reason why people tell you that is because they're afraid of you being dumb. And I think that's right. It's probably fair. Generally, it's a good rule of thumb. It's like saying, don't cross the street unless the little white man pops up. Don't jaywalk. Right. It's to be safe. But sometimes you can save a little time if you look both ways and you are a skilled street crosser. And I think the same thing is true in this situation is if you see a running back who has an ability to be the fulcrum of your offense, then yes, or a tight end like Gronk, who is so talented and so unique that it's worth paying that amount of money, then it makes sense. So like watching Christian McCaffrey's injury is really the difference in this offense. Watching the film from last year, it's not just his ability, it's the gravity that he creates. And so last year, Ayuk got paid in part because the nerds were like, he creates the most separation out of any receiver in the league. I went back and looked at all their explosive plays last year. And I noticed that on a good number of their explosive plays, they were going against zone and Christian McCaffrey was running a swing. And you know how linebackers in zone, when a back goes out in the flat, they get some depth. They're inviting you to throw the 3-yard swing. They'll come up and tackle it. That ain't what they do when Christian run a swing. They hug to his ass quick. And there's a big hole in the middle of the field. And Ayuk is hurt now, but we saw that his separation in key moments was not there nearly as much. And it's like, you know why? Because all of this offense is dependent on the uniqueness of one player. And when he's not there, I think Debo fits in that category also. I think that Debo is probably more important to that offense than Ayuk because of his ability to catch a screen, which is similar to like those unexpected explosives that you get from the running game. We can throw Debo a 2-yard pass, and there's a chance that he's going to turn it into 5. There's also a chance he's going to turn it into 30. And that's a whole drive. That's 3 first downs you just got right there. And yeah, it doesn't matter what position they play. It don't matter what they look like. Don't matter how tall they are. If they have a unique skill that you can build around, then pay them that money and build around it.
Now, on another day, we could talk about players that we could wish Kyle Shanahan had drafted, right? Like back in the day, like what if Reggie Bush had gone to play for Kyle Shanahan? What if Percy Harvin had gone to play for Kyle Shanahan? Because if you can run and you can catch, everybody he's got, including George Kittle, you can't come out here if you can't run and you can't catch. But in line with what you were saying, I contend that Sean McVay has not been really called a genius or looked at as a genius since Ty Gurley got hurt. Because Ty Gurley is the best post-Adrian Peterson running back that I've seen, Jared Henry included, in college and in the league, right? It looked different when he was there. And in line with that, boy, that Jared Goff sure looks a lot better when he's got good running backs. Like, I'm not saying that Montgomery and Gibbs are the same as Todd Gurley, but I am saying them boys be running, Gibbs in particular. You see that 40-yard run he had the other day where nobody touched him? And it was just everybody's done their job perfectly here. There's holes, there's speed. What are you going to do?
And you remember he was an early draft pick that people complained about.
Yep.
But I will say, to make the argument on the other side, is the opportunity cost, I guess, would be the proper argument. Because, like, all right, you take Derrick Henry off of the Ravens. The problem with the opportunity cost is what they are doing is they're taking advantage of the fact that the rest of the league is dumb. Because you're like, all right, we pay Derrick Henry $8 million a year. Okay, if we didn't pay Derrick Henry $8 million a year, who else we gonna get for $8 million a year that's gonna have that impact? So I agree. If the cost for Derrick Henry was the same as the cost for a pass rusher who can't be blocked, then by all means, I'm with you guys. We can get a mediocre running back for damn near nothing, but we can't find a game-ending pass rusher for that price. But that's not the price. Derrick Henry on sale. Running backs is on sale. And y'all looking at that like, nope, but he's a running back. No. Saquon is the only reason right now that the Eagles offense looks the way that it is. Well, when AJ's out there, he matters too. But if they go on sale, and if you look at how much it costs to, and I'm sure that people have done this, but how much it costs to pay those guys versus like number 2 receivers on other teams, it's outrageous, like the importance that they could have. So yeah, I'm not completely on board to say that you sell the farm for a running back or a tight end or someone just because they're special, because I do recognize positional value. If you can find me a shutdown corner, then y'all can keep Derrick Henry. That changes things. But the problem is you ain't finding no shutdown corner for $8 million a year. It's just not happening.
All right, my last thing. The Kansas City Chiefs are 8-0, but like the college example that I could come up with for them is like that year after Florida State won the national championship where they kept winning all these games close, and then finally they got to the playoff and got their doors blown off. Like Lamar Jackson right now is better than Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen. Like I don't understand myself what's going on with them. I mean, their defense is cold. Like that part I get, but even then, when you look at the points given up, the Chargers are giving up 101 points. The Chiefs are giving up 147. So, like, what do you think is going on here?
Yeah, I think the defense is good, but they aren't complete shutdown defense. I hate these kind of cliches of like knowing how to win, because people don't necessarily put any like actual facts behind it, but it does feel like it applies to this team. I won't accept it for just any old team, but if you got back-to-back Super Bowls in the way that they won last year's Super Bowl, and specifically the way that they won that Ravens game, where I was at the game and it felt like they decided, all right, we're going to put all our good shit these first 2 drives, and now we're going to try to get to the end of the game. And when you have a quarterback who I think right now has a 75% win percentage in 1-score games, I feel like that's almost the goal. Is like, look, we got the best closer in the game. We want to get to the end of the game as soon as possible because we think that our closer is better than your closer. And it feels like that's how they're playing this year. And I think also there's a psychological thing that you can't fake. They don't care about this shit, man. You can't come off of 2 Super Bowls, a team that's won 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years. You can't show up to every regular season game with the same level of intensity. I do think that we saw them go up a level last year in the playoffs, and they will go up a level this year in the playoffs. But the hard thing, I'm having a hard time reconciling all of these stats and the way that I watch, because it's not just the stats. That's the hard thing. Is like I was texting with Nick Wright a couple of weeks about this. That's the hard thing for me, is like I'm willing to extend this. They playing with their food, or they are in control of all these games and they just win at the end. Like all the stuff that I said, I'm willing to accept it. But the hard part about accepting that is I watch these games. I watch them. And while everyone watched the primetime game and came away feeling like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is God, I watch all the other games too. And they be struggling, man. They be struggling. You got to blow somebody out every now and then.
So nobody in the business is better at constructing an argument than Nick. I've told him this. I am pretty sure he agrees, but he is the best at constructing an argument out of anybody else. I say that to say that if the Kansas City Chiefs were not the Kansas City Chiefs, I assure you that Nick Wright could construct a fantastic argument for why you should not believe in this.
I mean, there's plenty of reasons not to.
Yeah, it's just like you just can't nibble like this. I've seen this. I've never seen a team that goes about their business like this actually come out on top in the end, right? They can get really close to whatever it is, but I do agree with you that it feels in a way like they're running four corners just to try to shorten the game because they know they can get enough buckets if it comes down to it, right? Like that seems to be what they are doing. But it can't be this. I just don't think, here's the question. Baltimore's defense is a bit problematic. I'm surprised they have not given you a call and said that they were just having a Legends game when in reality they was going to give you number 24 and get you back out there because I think you could play for them right now. Are we saying the Chiefs could put up a bunch of points on them, right? And then maybe that would be enough because, man, that Baltimore offense is hilarious. It is hysterically good. It is comically good.
Man, it is. I mean, the way Lamar in the second. So the thing about Lamar is the case for optimism for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson is you can forget all the playoffs prior to last year because he was not out there with an offense like the one now. And this is the second year in this offense. And this is the best version of Lamar Jackson that we've seen. That's the case for him. Is like, last year was his first year in this offense. It could have been better, but it wasn't. This year is second year, and they have Derrick Henry. The problem is the defense is significantly worse. But they're so good offensively that they could win a shootout against anybody. I have a hard time. I hesitate to believe that there are some people that just get in the playoffs and turn into a different person. And if that is a true thing, I have a hard time believing that Lamar Jackson has that. I think it's a product of the situation. I don't believe that Lamar Jackson's going to get nervous and shrivel up in a big game. I see you making a face like you disagree with me.
No, I don't disagree on that. Okay. Like that is, although I do feel like he may have done that in the past, I wouldn't say shrivel up necessarily, but did not elevate. And I do think that they need him to get to the elevate point. When you saw you making a face, as I was thinking about something that I meant to say earlier, is that we talk about like teams that can get into shootouts, right? Mm-hmm. Think about them Lions, boy. The Lions out here like, well, man, up there, drop your pistol, drop your badge, and let's go, right? Like y'all say y'all some killers. Let's come up here and do it right then. Or you start shooting, and then they just walk up on you and pistol whip you.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Lions is we say shootouts, and in our mind we think that means throwing a lot of passes. It just means scoring on every drive. That's all it means. And if y'all want to score quick on a drive, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. What do you do in a shootout against somebody who just keeps walking towards you, impervious to your bullets? All right, shoot me. We here, dog. Shoot me
with a bat.
Yeah, and the next thing you know, that's exactly it. Blunt force trauma. They are giving, like I think Sean had mentioned this, that Chris Long talks about this, like what happens to teams the week after they play the Lions. This used to be a thing about playing Alabama. Like, not only are you going to lose to Alabama, you're going to lose next week too.
That's funny. Yeah, I see Chris talk about that. Yeah. Which that's an inside the numbers problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an inside the numbers problem. I don't know nothing about that. That's something that's analysis that you're gonna get from Chris Long. Yes. You ain't gonna get from me and my outside the numbers brothers.
Ryan Clark ain't giving it to you.
I mean, Ryan Clark.
No, he inside the numbers. Yeah, no, Ryan, they don't make Ryan Clarks no more.
No. They still make them. There's just no place for them in the league at this point. Yes. They have legislated out the guys that care more about the outcome of the game than the preservation of their body. There's no place for y'all anymore in this league.
The Steelers are out there with two of them. They're out there with two of them, and one of them with Hall of Fame everything. Two just killers. Bow! Damn, dog, you ain't have to do all that.
That set a tone, man. That set a tone for a defense and a mentality. That is, that sometimes those clips come up of Ryan specifically, but just anybody that just come downhill and just throw their life at somebody else's life.
And he the free safety. Like
That's
in the old days, they called it the weak safety.
Do you remember, I feel like I told you this before, but we had injuries in Denver. I had to start at safety, and John Lynch was the other safety. I bet you couldn't guess who was the free, who was the strong.
I'll tell you this. I know who wasn't the strong.
Yeah, John Lynch was the free.
Yes.
And it's because like the strong safety often, and for disguise purposes, is going to be the one who also has to guard man-to-man on the tight end or man-to-man on the slot receiver. So it was like, hey, you get in there, you do what you can against that run, but we're not going to have to play nickel, which, yeah, it was pretty cool. It worked out.
I guess we're not. I tell you something else the Lions do that I'm surprised the union they shut down. I've seen other teams do this too. I see it in college. This thing where they out there making their best offensive linemen like eligible. And so number 71 come in motion. And I've seen the Lions do this with Sewell, where he comes in motion. And so you're allowing Penei Sewell at like 6'5", 350 to get a head start before he gets into the... Yeah, that can't be legal, bro.
Trent Williams was doing that a couple years ago, too. Again, it can't be legal. Let me tell you how good Penei Sewell is. We give you a little sneak peek of Get Up next week. We are going to do a video of Penei Sewell's blocks and make a case for him as Offensive Player of the Year. Like, it's a case that's going to fall on deaf ears, but the man is so good that we watched a series of his blocks. Hawk had some of them, Andrew Hawkins. I had some of them, and Jeff Saturday had some of them, and we was just passing around the phone in the meeting room like, we need to do a segment on this dude because the athleticism is incredible. You and I have talked about the unique athleticism of the I guess it'd be Pacific Islanders.
Polynesian, I believe, is where we go.
Polynesians, apologies. And it reminded me of Haloti Ngata, who like moves in a way that is inconsistent with physics and his size. And it's the very same thing for Penei Sewell, where he moved like a receiver, and it's not fair.
Before we go, can you tell the Penei Sewell story?
Right there? Oh, the Haloti Ngata joint.
Yes, can you tell the story?
Yeah. So, Haloti, when I first got to the Ravens on Fridays, we would have like family. So we have Friday's an early practice day. We're normally done by noon or so. And then after that, families would come in and eat with us and then play around on the field or whatever. And I had just gotten to the Ravens and Haloti's sons were out there playing. Everybody's kids are playing. And I'm just like, I didn't have kids at the time. So I'm just like playing with everybody's kids, being nice, making friends with everyone. And my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time. I just remember we met Haloti's kids, and I introduced myself, and they were like, one of them, his sons, like had a hard time like saying his name and like having this conversation. Like he said his name, and it just was like very clear that he was struggling a little bit. And on the ride home, I remember telling my wife, like, oh man, it's awesome that like Haloti's has been such a great player because he has the resources to take care of his son, because like it was clear to me that his son has special needs because he was damn near my height and could barely talk. And then the following week, it came to my attention that I asked about his age, and no, he was just 4. And I was like, this man was so, and it wasn't even, so this was the thing. It wasn't even him being big. It was also the level of coordination. That's what, because all the kids are running around on the field playing games and whatever. And it's like, this kid is keeping up with the 8-year-olds and the 10-year-olds. And he's about the same size as them. And he just, when I was like, what's your name? He was like, oh, no. I was like, oh, okay. And then I realized, I don't know where he at. He got a scholarship somewhere, because Haloti's wife was a volleyball player. So they wasn't going to water down that gene pool with none of this non-athleticism.
No, that was just what I was about to say, was that like we need to go check in on him. Like every now and then you got to go back and be like, yo, what happened to insert kid here?
Yeah, it was a lot of I think Haloti went on to have a bunch of kids. I guess they don't have to, but if they want to, I'm sure they could play something for somebody.
That is Domonique Foxworth. Check him out on the Domonique Foxworth Show, available where all 5 podcasts are given away for free. I appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Sean, you got prize picks for the people?
All right, Bo, for my picks this Sunday football, I'm going to take a lot of the running backs to score touchdowns. Devon Achane for a touchdown, Jamar Gibbs, J.K. Dobbins, and Tank Bigsby on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those are my picks for this Sunday's big slate of football.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this thing 3 times a week. Hit the voicemail line, 323-596-7767. Ask me anything, 323-596-7767. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. And we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.